What's going on, everybody? Yes, I'm finally back after a little over 2 months. I apologize about that. I do appreciate everyone who's stuck around and waited for me to come back. If you're new here, consider checking out the video, consider checking out the channel. You might like it. If you don't, keep it moving, no hard feelings. I still love you. Today we're going to be checking out top 10 bands from the great city of Manchester, so that I will one day visit, I promise. So let's check it out. H is from Manchester, I believe. I'm right. Anyway, check it out.
I told you those savages couldn't be trusted.
Alright guys, let's check out what Manchester has to offer with music. I already know that song. I had no clue these guys were British. I had no clue. I know that song though.
These born and bred Manchester bands are proper mint. Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 bands from Manchester. Before we begin, if you enjoy this video, please subscribe for more great content. For this list, we'll be focusing on the most iconic Manchester bands that keep fans shrieking with excitement all the world over.
Never heard that one.
Number 10, The Fall. Named after a 1956 Albert Camus novel, this Prestwick collective is by far one of the most influential bands from the late 70s.
How big were they? Because I've honestly never heard of them. Maybe I've heard of one of these songs.
Manchester scene. With their debut album Live at the Witch Trials, The Fall introduced their innovative aesthetic, blending punk with an intellectual slant. Despite the band's local influence throughout the early 80s, the perpetually changing lineup and underground commitment meant that Americans never truly experienced The Fall. But the group has remained a highly productive Manchester product, with Mark E. Smith keeping fans buzzing since 1979.
The Verve. Of course I know them.
Number 9, The Verve.
Ren done basically a retake of this song. I believe I don't know where this guy's walking in, like the city, but I know Ren was walking in London. He was walking in London, right?
In the United States mainstream, most people know this Wigan band for their 1997 hit, Bittersweet Symphony. And with good reason too, as the Verve's Britpop sound made them the next big thing back then. Or so it seemed.
That's a badass song.
Richard Ashcroft and company weren't one-hit wonders, yet their internal bickering broke them apart shortly after receiving a Grammy nod.
This love is noise, love is pain.
However, their early 90s run added a new chapter to the Manchester rock narrative, as the Verve combined immaculate artistry with explosive live shows. As a result, these blokes had the best of times along with the worst.
They love that symphony, didn't they?
Number 8, The Chemical Brothers.
Featuring Q-Tip.
Inspired by a variety of
Featuring Q-Tip. I know Q-Tip.
eclectic artists, this trip-hop duo provided a thumping soundtrack for the early 90s Manchester rave scene. Originally known as the Dust Brothers, Ed Simons and Tom Rowlands became synonymous with the big beat sound, which made them a local act with an immense worldwide appeal. Unsurprisingly, the Chemical Brothers
I bet half the people in those concerts were high on acid.
Haven't always topped the US charts with their Eurocentric sound, but they continue to dominate the UK charts. And so they're the Manchester connection for pre- and post-internet electronic music.
I feel like I know that one.
Number 7, New Order.
I've heard that. I mean, I know the original
After the 1980 death of Ian Curtis, the English band Joy Division came to an abrupt end after only 4 years.
Did they sing the original?
The surviving members formed New Order, a group of Manchester lads that became instrumental in the worldwide new wave scene. With their 1981 movement, they established a new identity locally, all the while creating a new fan base with their emotional connection to the material. New Order's reputation alone makes them Manchester legends, but they also inspired countless
I know the first song. Everything after that is, yeah, not ringing a bell.
musicians with their sound and commitment over the years, enhancing the legacy set by the original lineup. Number 6, Elbow.
I've been working on a cocktail called Grounds for Divorce.
Since the early 21st century, this Ramsbottom quartet has transformed into one of the most successful Manchester bands. In 2001, Elbow released their long-awaited debut album,
That song actually sounds good. I've never heard of these guys, but that song actually would sound great.
Asleep in the Black, building upon the prog rock sound that Radiohead developed throughout the 90s.
Your legs you burn too bright.
Fronted by Guy Garvey, they've become one of indie rock's most consistent groups, reaching even more fans through spectacular live shows. In 2012, Elbow recorded the BBC's official music theme for the London Summer Olympics, highlighting their versatility as a band, while also demonstrating their significance within British culture, and certainly within their native Manchester.
Fall in love with me.
Aren't these actors? I know the first one. Oh yeah, they're actors.
Number 5, Buzzcocks.
The Buzzcocks! Never heard of them.
With a name specific to Manchester slang, these punk rockers established the foundation for an entire genre of music. From their
Never heard of them, but they have the coolest name on this list, I guarantee you by far. The Buzzcocks.
raw sound to their own independent label, the Buzzcocks changed the parameters for mid-70s Manchester musicians as they strayed away from standard routines to create their own scene. Formed by Howard Devoto and Pete Shelley, the Buzzcocks are synonymous with punk rock's early days, even though they continue to release new music and tour throughout the world. Some Manchester bands emerge and quickly fade away, but this group has proven to be one of punk rock's most enduring and respected acts, making their native Manchester proud.
Hit him with it! Hit him with it!
How many special people change? How
I don't know who that is, but I know that song.
many lives are lived?
Number 4, Oasis.
Oasis!
Where were you while we were getting?
I feel stupid for not knowing who they were. I'm sorry, guys. I think that's like the biggest band out of Manchester.
Just as the American grunge was taking off overseas, with the 1994 release of their debut album Definitely Maybe, Oasis established a loyal fan base domestically, topping the UK charts. On top of that, Liam and Noel Gallagher's feisty personas and distinct Mancunian accents set them apart from the landscape of mid-90s alternative music, and the mainstream was undoubtedly mad for it. So, until
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there like a huge music festival somewhere over there where Jay-Z, I guess, headlined a few years ago, and I think people were kind of protesting about it because I'm assuming it's normally a rock festival. But anyway, he didn't he sing like part of that song, that Oasis song? Y'all let me know.
in terms of 90s pop culture, there's perhaps no other band more relevant than Oasis, and they continued well on into the 2000s until they put out their own Burning Fire. Number 3, Joy Division. In the late 70s,
All right, just off first impression, it reminds me of The Doors. Sounds good.
this band changed the Manchester sound by incorporating punk ideals with a new wave aesthetic.
That doesn't.
Given the unique stage presence of lead singer Ian Curtis,
Man, I love them dances. Check them out.
unique stage presence of lead singer Ian Curtis, Joy Division naturally had locals talking, yet they still had to grind away for more gigs.
People do not dance like that anymore, but they should.
Joy Division naturally had locals talking, yet they still had to grind away for more gigs. Unfortunately, Curtis took his own life at only 23 years of age, 2 months before the release of Joy Division's Sophomore release and the subsequent trip to the US. The surviving members established a new vision, a new order, and so Joy Division's legacy continues to be felt throughout Manchester
Oh, the other band. That was the band picking up after the lead singer passed away, I'm assuming.
and beyond. Number 2, Stone Roses. Before
Never
there was
heard of 'em,
Oasis,
but-
there was the Stone Roses, a band that once said
They sound
America
good.
does not deserve us yet. They inspired a world of
Nirvana?
musicians with their
That's what it sounds like.
1989 debut and made an even bigger statement with the 1994's Second Coming, but like so many idealistic rock bands, Ian Brown and his Manchester didn't quite cross over into the American mainstream. Even so, they're Manchester legends despite only having 2 studio albums. Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honourable mentions.
I like that song already. Oh, that was the band. My bad. That's the band.
Number 1, The Smiths.
Punctured bicycle on a hillside desolate.
When punk reached the United States mainstream in the early 80s, these introspective musicians were transforming the Manchester scene.
The boy with a thorn in his side.
Fronted by the extraordinary Stephen Patrick Morrissey, an accomplished songwriter, performer and philosopher, the Smiths broke through with their satirical take on pretentious UK society.
But heaven knows I'm miserable now.
Beyond that, however, international listeners could identify with the lyrical concepts without
Never heard of 'em.
necessarily needing to understand the literal framework. As a result, the Smiths earned a cult following,
I know about things the wrong way.
staying true to themselves and playing by their own rules. They didn't survive the 80s, but they're still our kids.
Sound great.
Do you agree with our picks?
All right, guys. Which bands do you know of, and which one's your favorite? Obviously, The Verve and Oasis are going to be my top 2 because I don't really know the other ones. Anyway, I'm glad to be back, guys. I hope to be able to keep pumping out content. Again, thank you guys for sticking it out with me. If you're new, if you like the video, consider hitting the subscribe button and check out the other videos on the channel. You might like them. All right, guys, I'm out.